Straight, are you straight that way?
Yeah.
Coming down. Oh, no more. Straight, straight. Whoa. Straight. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah, give everybody a drink and then we'll celebrate. Yeah! Get a drink.
I want one of just all the workers first.
Yeah, well, everybody. Who's up? Do they know what this Berlin Wall is?
I explained to them yesterday. You told them and they didn't know, then they asked me later.
Over here, come over here.
We gotta get the crane man in here.
Man, come here.
Could have done it without him. He's the guy that could have killed us all.
Come on, girls. Oh no, the girls didn't do it. First the construction people, come here. All the construction people who were involved. He was involved.
I think it made him happy. Great job.
Oh, you got cameras? Okay, so we cheer for the Berlin Wall, eh? Yay! Okay. Take a good one, hey! Coors Light beer.
Oh, we got both.
Eh?
Let's Philly.
Let's Philly. Take enough, take enough.
Hey, everybody
Okay.
go this way and smile.
Okay, where's Hans and where's the Helga? Where's your Cindy? Cindy! Come here, girls, come here.
Everybody.
Huh? Okay. Okay. Okay, come on, girls. Okay. This side and the wall on this side, right?
Yeah, we took pictures with Isma and John and... Yeah.
People were dying there.
I need somebody to take one with this camera.
And you have it here, right?
Are you getting that? Are you getting that?
All the time.
I guess so.
Does it work?
Oh, yeah.
Take one for a close-up.
Finished.
All right. Speaking this, although there won't be any loudspeaker. We were waiting earlier for the Minister of Agriculture and Trade and Commerce of Bahamas, Perry Christie, to come over, but unfortunately he just phoned and they're still caught up in cabinet meetings. We are going to have another official ceremony for the wall with the Prime Minister here and a lot of the dignitaries from Bahamas. So we were hoping to catch a few of them tonight so we could share them with you people. But I certainly didn't want to have this very, very special evening go by and this very special wall to go by without sharing it with some of my very, very favorite people, you know, our senior management and their wives and very special friends and a few of our new friends like Barry DeCosta over here. I just want to say that the wall here is in fact the real wall, and the graffiti that you see on it is the graffiti that could be there from anywhere from 50 or 30 years ago, I guess. Each people want to leave their mark on it. I'm going to have Klaus tell you a little bit more about specifics of the wall, actually where it came from and specific location when it was built, and then even have our very good friend Zoltan come up here and tell you a little bit about how it felt to be on the other side of that wall, because Zoltan Mahaley, a lot of us you have known or met him, indeed was a freedom fighter who was on that side of that actual wall and wanted to escape from it. A lot of people have indeed tried to escape over this wall and have indeed died escaping from behind this wall. This wall is about 12 feet high, and as you've probably seen from time to time, the East Germans bombed. Yeah, you want to sit down there. The East Germans lay down a minefield behind that wall for about 50 yards or so, and you don't see any graffiti on that side of the wall. The West Germans could go close to here, and right this, the East Germans couldn't get anywhere close to this wall. Can you imagine that this wall really represents the biggest concentration camp the world has ever known? Some 500 million people were entrapped behind that wall. He got a life sentence by this guy named Stalin that they can never come out, they can never have their freedom. They lived in bare existence, poverty-stricken. Even their children after that were totally deprived. Many people were trying to escape from it, as I said earlier, and died doing it. They were machine gunned down right behind this very wall. So for us to have this piece of history over here and to have it sitting here in Bahamas, for me anyway, sends shivers down my spine. The fact that it so symbolically represents freedom. You know, when you think about the world history, you think about all the things that Hitler did during the World War, is nothing, in my opinion, compared to what Stalin did. And you can't certainly diminish the Second World War's problems in any way. But when you think about what Stalin did, and 500 million people put in a prison, 20, 30 million people shot to death, and to think that he built this concentration camp. And it's quite significant to us being from Finland, because when Stalin and Hitler made a deal for Europe and divided up Europe, the only country that ultimately was never occupied indeed was Finland. And when you hear about Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, and now they're struggling to get their freedom, those are the countries that Stalin overran in those years. And then when it came to trying to overrun Finland, these people, my dad's of this world and my mom and dad's of this world, when she was about 17 years old at the time, they fought. And they taught Russia the biggest lesson of their life. They taught Russia what it means to fight against the Finns, and they never did get into Finland, and Russia lost 1 million men in that war. When you think about the war in Iraq right now, and think about this tremendous battles going on over there and a few casualties there, you think about losing 1 million men, and the Finns lost 100,000, the kind of war that must have been, just mowed down tens of thousands at a time, trying to take Finland, and never could take Finland. As a result, I and my sister and our parents have the freedom right now. That's why this wall also means so much to it, because we were never behind it. And we never had to go behind it. We get a chance to live like this, while those other people never had a chance at all. So it is a very, very special thing to us. And trying to capture a little piece of history, I couldn't think of a more appropriate history to catch than this particular wall, and to have it here. And I just want to bring in Klaus and Helga here, because both Klaus and Helga made this possible. Come on up in here, Helga and Klaus, because these are two dear friends of mine, and over here probably is okay, Helga. Two dear friends of mine that made it possible. They're both Germans, and when I mentioned about the war, or rather the wall, and Helga heard it last time she was over here, man, she went to work. And it was almost impossible to get this, and she went to work. She contacted this Klaus. They became good friends as a result of this war. And then Klaus went to work and flew down there to Germany himself and did all the details of it. And I'll let Klaus tell you a little bit about the history of this wall right now. And then after that, I'd like to build in Zoltan. Klaus.
Well, thank you very much, Peter. I don't really know what to say after this speech, because I'm really truly impressed with what you have said as far as the history is concerned. I can only agree with it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we tried very hard to achieve what we have achieved here tonight, to get this particular piece of the wall. And as Peter has said, it is a piece of history, not just a piece of concrete, it's history. For about 30 odd years, the Stalin organized and controlled East German government kept about in East Germany, give or take, 16 million people literally as prisoners. Nobody can get out, nobody could get in, only the very privileged people were able to move freely. The wall also symbolized the division between East and West Berlin, whereas West Berlin was part of West Germany, an island in the middle of East Germany, which most North Americans didn't realize. It's just an island. Also, I later found out, after the wall came down, that all of Berlin was surrounded by rocket launchers, and the East Germans really had intended to one day take West Berlin. So this is the more that we appreciate that the government of East Germany fell, and this wall represents a piece of the freedom the people enjoy now. Because I've traveled to East Germany for about 6.5 years, 5-6 times a year, and I saw really what was going on. It was a pity. It was absolutely incredible. You could only feel sorry for these people, and there wasn't much you can really do for them, or could do for them. because you were restricted by import regulations, etc., etc. So when in 1989 the wall came down, being preceded by tremendous demonstrations, fortunately, really nobody lost their life. It was all peaceful. It was the most peaceful demonstration held ever anywhere in the world. The wall came down, and finally, give or take 16 million people achieved their freedom, and they can do now, as Peter has said, live free, do things, and enjoy what we enjoyed all the way along and what we took for granted. So this piece of wall here, if I may refer to it, came right from the Potsdamer Platz area, which is one of the main parts of Berlin, close to the Brandenburg Gate. And it's original, as Peter said. I've seen it when it was up, when the real wall was there, and also I repeat the words, nobody from the east could get close to it because it was forbidden territory. Only 11 kilometers of West German division, like in West Berlin, was available to tourists from all over the world who could put their graffiti and their feelings on the wall. And this is what you see, this is what it reflects. Like you see, "Hello Virgin." Somebody really expressed their feelings on this wall.
We're looking the other way.
And also you see Harley Davidson. Now what is Harley Davidson? That's the American way. Nobody in the East even knew what it meant. And I can tell you, we can be all very proud of this moment because it will not be repeated ever. This is a piece of history. And I think both... Yes, we have the original certification here, documented with a certificate and a copper plaque, which tells us this is an original piece of the Berlin Wall. It's not a fake piece, which some people have tried to make money with in Berlin, which I unfortunately discovered recently. But this is an original piece, and it's history. It's not a piece of concrete, it's history, absolute history. And I'm very pleased and very proud that Peter had this foresight to jump on it when the opportunity was there, because it's all gone now. Only a very few fortunate people like Peter Nygard have something like this in their possession. Everything else is gone, it's history. And here we see it. And Peter, I would like to congratulate you on your foresight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Zoltan?
Fine.
Zoltan is a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine for many years from Los Angeles. And I don't want to say he's a lawyer because you all know how I feel about lawyers. So he doesn't admit to it either. But Zoltan, as I said, was one of those freedom fighters that was on the opposite side of the wall. And perhaps I can ask Zoltan just to say a couple of words, Zoltan, about how it felt to be on the other side.
Thank you, Peter. It is difficult to describe, and probably I may be the only person, I do not know, who lived behind this wall for more than 10 years. It is grim. Met with friends from time to time, talked about dreams, how nice it would be to be one day in Paris or maybe England, maybe Florida, maybe Italy, anything like that. But we all knew that that will never happen. It is not possible because of this wall. This wall is from Berlin, but it was part of the Iron Curtain, as Winston Churchill called it. It was not only in Germany, it was going south. I was born in Hungary, and that was in Eastern Europe, so it was occupied by the Russians, and I was behind this Iron Curtain. You know about Rambo and things like that, great heroes, but if you would have been there, you would not have been able to get through that Iron Curtain with all the heroism. You couldn't. Where I lived, there was a rule that nobody could come close to the border about 50 miles. 50 miles close to the border was prohibited area. you could get there only with permission if you were some high government official. So you couldn't even get close to it. And then there would be the machine gun towers and the dogs and the electric wire and the mines. So to get through those things, to even get close to it would be impossible. You would be caught a long time before even getting there. And then if you would try to walk going west, you would be either blown up by the mine or bitten by the dogs that would follow you, or shot down by the machine guns which were on the towers, on the machine towers. So that's how it was. And it was cold winters. There was not much fuel. We were sitting in rooms. People were giving speeches which were ordered by the government, by Stalin. They were anti-American speeches. And whenever they mentioned Stalin's name in praise, then we all jumped up and we had to clap. And we clapped for a long time because you were afraid that if you stopped clapping as first, you might be killed. That guarantees a great success, you see. Just a clap for long, I would say 50.
I tried to use that myself.
Yes, 50 minutes clapping after every time. And his name was mentioned maybe 15 times. So then finally, one day a revolution was made. The Hungarian people revolted on the streets. Great heroism. 200,000 people died. I was elected Secretary General of the Freedom Fighters Revolutionary Committee. And then we were fighting for about 4 weeks, shooting at tanks. These tanks are huge tanks, T-54. The machine guns are very large. And we had only regular guns and what is called Molotov cocktails. You have to know how to jump on a high tank and then have this bottle with gasoline in it and ignite it in such a way that it would fall into the tank, or else it blows your head away. And many of my friends died right then, and I have to be forever with them. But then the Russians won. They had too many tanks, and nothing could be done. And I would have been at least put in jail probably for many, many years, or else executed. So therefore, we had to leave. One day in December, then we were leaving. That was my wife, who was expecting her first baby, about 5th month pregnancy, and a good friend of mine and his wife, 4 of us, plus one guy who was a friend, and he had an uncle on the border. That would be terribly important because to cross the border, it's good to have somebody who is on the border. And so this is how I came under this wall at that time, because there was a hole, a gap in the wall for about 1 month. And the Hungarian freedom fighters, even though defeated by the Russians as they were escaping to the west, they destroyed an area of maybe like 20 miles through which they were able to go to the west for a period of maybe 3-4 weeks. So this is how it happened. It happened that I spent with my wife, my friend and his wife, about 5 days on the border looking to see how we could go through. It was cold, icy, winter evenings. Every day we watched the news from people who were trying to get through to see what would be a good place to go through, because the Russian army was back on the border but not in complete control. At night time they were afraid to be out. And so finally, one evening at 7 o'clock we left. It was like December 8th. In that part of the world, a little bit like in Winnipeg, you know it. It is dark and cold in the evening, and we were walking. It's dark night. We ran into other people who joined us, so we were like maybe 12 people with one guide. That was the friend who was from there and who knew how to go, and he was leading us. In darkness, we had to hide from time to time because there were Russian tanks moving around, so we had to wait by the time they went by. And we ran into other people who, like ourselves, were fleeing. They were running away to west. I remember there was a guy about 40 years old. He said that he was a teacher in a school, but he looked to me like a crazy guy. He talked nonsense. He had a big brown bag in his back, some instrument in it, and was telling me that this is the greatest invention ever invented, and he will go to America and he will be very rich. And what the problem was that he talked loud. We had to hide and be quiet because the Russian patrols were not too far, and he talked loud. So it was clear to me that he was not very normal. So finally at 2 o'clock after midnight, we came to a place where there was a river. The river was as wide as to that palm tree. We were on this side, on the palm tree was the other side, maybe a little bit closer. And it was like 2:30 after midnight, freezing cold. You can see ice pieces in the river floating. And our guide expected to have a little boat in the river. And with the boat, he would have taken us over to the other side. Then we would have to walk 1.5 hours, and then we would be in Austria, and we would be in safety. The problem was that the boat wasn't there. So this is a big dilemma because now it's getting 3 o'clock. If you turn back and you go back by 6 o'clock, it will be light and the Russians will catch you, and that at best will mean maybe 30 years in Siberia or in jail. Very bad situation. So what happened was this professor, this teacher, he undressed and he swam across, which was crucially important because the only way to go through was to cut trees, which we had instruments for it, large, tall trees, put them on the other side, but there was somebody there had to be to catch the tree and to fix it to make a little bridge. But the water was ice cold, so there were not too many people who would want to do this. But he said, okay. He swam through, he was on the other side, freezing cold, no clothing after coming up from the water. We cut the trees, we built the bridge, and that's how we were able to go through, including my dear wife, who was then expecting her baby on that tree. I watched her going through. It's not very easy to climb on 2 trunks of tree, particularly if you have an overcoat, which you have to, otherwise you freeze to death, so it doesn't help you too much, but it's very hard to go. She was at one point losing her balance. I thought that, well, this will be very bad, but we made it. So that was my personal experience with the wall when I was a few feet from it, maybe for a day or two. Then finally I came to the United States. I went to Harvard Law School. I became a lawyer in Los Angeles, and at that time I didn't think of it, but now most people understand that what the freedom fighters did at that time in the Hungarian Revolution was perhaps the first step, very important step, that led to the breaking of the wall last year. Many people contributed to it, including, I think, President Reagan, who with his policy of military strength accomplished this wonderful result. But probably it could not have been done had these freedom fighters not shown to the world that people don't like that system. Because, of course, the Russians and the communists would say everybody likes this system. And You can protest against it only when you are willing to sacrifice your life. So therefore, I think everybody contributed to it, and it's a wonderful thing to have this monument here now, so that we could always remember what it means to live in slavery when you cannot go to any place that you would like to, and what it means to live in freedom as we live here. And perhaps that this is part of the Nygard family is particularly appropriate because at the same time he, with his friends Murray and all his colleagues, were working, developing a large enterprise here, employing many people, contributing to the happiness of people, and Peter himself developing the idea that there should be one united market in the entire Americas. And right now we can see that probably in 2 years this idea will be adopted, and there will be one huge market of almost 500 million from the top of Canada going down to Panama. So I think this is a wonderful place for this wall to be here forever. Thank you.
Very nice, Zoltan. One more task. We have our champagne, and here, Klaus, will you hold this for me?
I certainly will.
If you guys think that I'm going to smash this wonderful bottle of champagne against that wall, you're nuts. First of all, I don't want to damage the wall, and second of all, it's too expensive. But I do want to have a toast, official toast, and I do want you to raise your glasses for a toast to the symbol of this wall. You got to think of what Zoltan's words were and what our discussions has been, that how very, very lucky we are. And I don't think a lot of people realize how lucky we are to be standing here in this wonderful Bahamas, in this wonderful key right here, to be looking at this wall and not ever have been behind it, even in front of it. We have to be some of the luckiest people in the world. You know, we got our friends together, and we have this tremendous fellowship together with our old friends and our new friends, and let this wall be really and permanently here and permanent symbol of our freedom. So let's drink to the wall.
Hey.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Cheers. To the wall.